So we're now about to go to the area that's directly parallel, opposite, to where the Holy of Holies were. You guys all heard of the Holy of Holies? Rivka mentioned it, yeah? So just to remind you, we have the temple and the priests do the service all the time and all the Jews come. And in the middle of the temple is the heart of the universe. And that's the Holy of Holies. That's where we go only one time a year. The high priest goes. That's the heart, the engine of what matters. You guys want to go? Let's leave a path so that when people go up, come through, they can go up. And you know, we're doing this tour and we're looking around. There's a little part of our head that's doing calculations, trying to understand, what does a diagram mean? What does a wall mean? What does a bridge mean? Where was the street? What did it feel like? And trying to make sense of us today and these walls of yesterday. I myself am trying to push myself to imagine, to make a picture in my head. And it reminds me of a woman named Sophie, who was once a little girl in Poland. And she grew up in the most beautiful home. It didn't look beautiful. It was simple. She had a mama. She had a papa. She had many, many brothers and sisters. And every week, her mama would shech the chicken. She would take it to the rabbi to slaughter the chicken and make it for Shabbat. And they would have chicken soup and some challah. And they would sing by the table until the fire went out. And in the day, she would play outside with her friends. And she didn't have a lot of toys, but she was happy. She was happy. She had the creek. She had her cousins that lived nearby. She had this simple, good life. At night when she went to bed, in the living room, there was a little candlelight. And she heard this sound, the comforting sound of her mother learning Torah, her father learning Torah. Maybe he learned with her mother before that. And in the morning when she woke up, she smelled freshly baked bread. There was no bakery to run to. There was Mama's homemade cooking. And Sophie grew up, and when she was 10 years old, the Nazis came and they destroyed everything. They ripped her family from her house. They couldn't bring the Shabbos candlesticks. They couldn't bring the tablecloth. They couldn't bring anything. And they hustled them into the ghetto, to live like mice, one on top of the other, 30 people in a room. There was no more Shabbos table. There was no more Mama's smile. And her family tried to stay together in the ghetto. And soon, even that room, that simple room, just 30 people in a room, that was their existence. Even that was taken away. And Sophie was put in a cattle car and taken off to Auschwitz. And there she suffered. And the kinds of things she suffered, we cannot even imagine. Her brothers died, her sisters died, her mothers died, and nobody made it but Sophie. When the soldiers came and they rescued her, she was a shell of the person she once had been. She came there, maybe 15 years old. She left there an old woman. They couldn't even tell her age. There was so little of her left. And she didn't know where to go. There was nothing for her to go to. And so, with the help of many kind people, she made her way from country to country and landed up in America. She rose again, like Jews always do. And she married, and she had children. She had some girls. Now it's many, many years later. There's a chance. There's a chance for her to go back to Poland, to where she came from. So she takes this trip with her daughters. And she's scared. And she's scared. And there's so many things she couldn't even talk about. She couldn't even express what happened in Auschwitz. And she's petrified of facing the things that are even deeper than the pain, the loss of what was once in her house, her Poland, her memories. And she takes her daughter there. And they get off the plane and they're driving. And it's forever, but she never wants to get there. And then she sees it. She sees her home. And it looks the same from the outside. And when she opens it up, nothing there. There's no mama there. There's no papa there. All the things, all these these years that she held on to the memories of what was in her house is not there anymore. It's just her house, it's just the memories. It's such a loss. Such a loss. You know, it's hard. It's hard for us to relate to temple times. What does temple times mean? What does it mean? They were people like we were people. So what does it mean, temple times? Temple times means we had Papa's house. We had a place that we called home, where we created memories, where we felt rejuvenated and alive. Temple times means this. The Jewish people would go to the temple besides for every day. What if you didn't live here in the old city? What if you lived a little further away? 3 times a year you would come here. Passover, Sukkot, and Shavuos. 3 times a year. And this is what it looked like. This is what our Papa's house looked like. The fathers had a special mitzvah to carry their children on their shoulders. Little boys, little girls on their father's shoulders, and the uncles taking care. And everyone coming laden with food because it was going to be a long journey. It wasn't slide into Passover and buy some Manischewitz matzah and change out your dishes and let's invite family and have brisket. No. It was weeks and weeks of preparation and excitement until the day finally came, and months before Passover, you would load up the wagons and it was a big hullabaloo, and you'd tell your neighbors, how did you get all that stuff in? Well, it's okay, I have some relatives and I'm going to get some stuff over there. You load up your bags because you're going home. You're going home to Papa's house. And everyone would converge as they got closer and closer to Jerusalem. More and more people would come together. And there was musicians out there welcoming them. There was no overpopulation. Who doesn't have room for family? Has anyone felt crowded in the old city? It doesn't matter how many birthright tourists come. There's always room for more. This is where we belong. We would come closer and closer. And like you said, there was endless amount of housing options. We didn't need to pay money and buy shawarma. People would feed us with pleasure. We shared our holidays because we're sharing our Papa. He's our Papa. He's there for all of us. And this is how we spent our time. Not once a year. And when you go on vacation for once a year, it's a big deal. That's not how we do things. We need to get recentered 3 times a year. We need this rejuvenation. And not one Torah class. And not one time visiting synagogue. But full 5 senses experience where you smell the smell of all the delicious food being cooked, and you listen to the sound of the children and the animals and everyone bustling and rushing to get ready for the holiday. That's called a holiday. What we're left with is like Sophie after Auschwitz. What we have now is a shell. It's just a shell of what we just had. We have this skeleton. We have the Seder table. We have the Seder plate. We're talking about Egypt. We do our best. We try so hard. But here's where we go back and we say, it was once so beautiful. We once felt it with all our senses. Do you know why I personally wish for the temple times? I'm so jealous. There was a time when you didn't have to talk about God. There was a time when you walked into the knowledge of God. I walk here and I feel God. It's existence. It's reality. The love. I feel the realness. There is no room for doubt. This is reality, and everything spoke to that reality. And now we're trying our best. You know, imagine if there could be such a thing in our dreams of our dreams of our dreams, that when Sophie, an old lady, after a hard life, comes back to her home in Poland, imagine that her father could somehow magically appear. He could just magically appear. And he could say, Sophie, my darling, I'm so sorry that you suffered. I wish we could do this again. I want to give you back the life that we once had. But not here in Poland. Not here in Poland. Poland, that was then. Let's not look to the past. Let's look to the future. Let's build something even better. I want to build something better. I don't want a little Shabbos table in a little hut. Now, Sophie, you've been through so much. I want to give you magnificence. I want to sit here at the table with all your grandchildren. I want to give you presents. I want to spend every holiday with you, and I never want to leave you ever, ever, ever again. That's what God says to us. He says, it was so rough, and it's been so hard, and I want so badly to give it all to you again. But how? How do we get Papa? How do we get that imaginary Papa back? You know how? He asked for it. It's so simple. Simple. We just need to want it. We just need to take that trip into who we are and say, I'm not going to be happy with Manischewitz and a box of matzah. I want the real deal. I want to feel something. I want to feel God. I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to live with my friends being depressed. I don't want to live in confusion. I don't want to live where all I got to worry about is how much money I'm going to make, because that's not real. If we want it, if we have the wanting, if we get it, that's when God says, you get it? You want it? You really, really want that? That's what I've been dying to give you all along. I've just been waiting for you to ask. And now we're having a chance to come. Remember that movie with all the notes? All the notes, visuals are so important. You know, prayer, every time you create a prayer, you create an angel. And an angel is speaking. It's speaking to God. You know, when you pray for something, you may not get the thing you want, but your prayer, no prayer is ever lost. There's something called an Otzer HaTfilos, treasure chest of Tfilos, and I promise you, that when you need something, and it's good for you, God takes out your prayer, and He places it over there. Because no parent is going to let their child get something that's not good for them. No prayer is wasted. Now we have a chance to go to the Central, Prayer Central, the place where it rises up from. We're going to the headquarters of prayer. That's exactly where we're going. Make sure you know where you're at before you go there, because you don't want to miss it. You left the States, you flew over an ocean, you came to the land of Israel, you went to Tzfat, you came to Jerusalem, you went to the Old City, you went to the Western Wall, you went through the tunnel tour, and now you're at the heart of prayer. Before we go there, I'm asking you, I'm asking myself, know where you are and take it for granted how many people will be here. We are going to be here. We're going to be in the place where we can ask for what's real. How about we want it back? And don't feel bad if you don't even know what you want. Because some things don't have words. How can we say what we want when we don't know what we're missing? We don't even have to. We don't even have to. Because our soul, and I'm sure you have felt this on this trip, leaps out of our body and it cries for what's real. There is no way that your soul, your royal, noble, exalted soul, is happy with anything but the best and the purest connection with God. So let your heart feel that. Notice where we are. Let yourself feel the yearning. Use your words. Use your silence. Let's go there together now. Set.